The rain pounded mercilessly against the already compromised ceiling as Vega balanced precariously on a rickety ladder, water dripping onto his face while he worked desperately to patch the leak above his 8-year-old daughter's bedroom. This wasn't how he'd planned to spend his Thursday night, but parenthood rarely followed plans, especially when you were doing it alone. "Daddy, is it going to fall on my head while I sleep?" Lily's small voice called up from where she stood in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit with a worried expression. "Not a chance, sweetheart," Connor replied, mustering confidence he didn't feel as another section of ceiling began to sag ominously. "But maybe we should have a living room campout tonight just for fun." Lily's eyes lit up, momentarily distracted from the impending ceiling collapse. "With popcorn, if we still have some," he said, checking his watch. Nearly midnight. The storm that had rolled in unexpectedly over Portland had revealed at least 3 different leaks in their small rental home, and this one was by far the worst. His landlord, Mrs. Jenkins, was a kind elderly woman, but she lived across the country with her daughter now, and the property management company she used was notoriously slow to respond. Connor climbed down the ladder, his muscles aching from a long day of construction work followed by this emergency repair. At 34, he felt twice his age some days. "Let's get your blankets and pillows. The living room awaits, milady." They had just settled into their makeshift camp when Connor's phone rang. He frowned at the unknown number. "Hello, Mr. Vega. This is Patricia Morrison. I purchased the Morrison building downtown last month. Your foreman gave me your number." Connor sat up straighter, recognizing the name immediately. Patricia Morrison was something of a local legend, a self-made billionaire who'd started a tech company in her garage and turned it into a global empire. She'd recently moved back to Portland, her hometown, after years in Silicon Valley. "Yes, Miss Morrison. What can I do for you?" "I have an emergency. The storm has caused significant damage to the roof of my penthouse. Your boss said you're the best at emergency repairs and live nearby. I know it's late, but I'm willing to pay triple your normal rate." Connor looked at Lily, already half asleep on her pillow fort. He couldn't leave her alone, but they desperately needed the money. The medical bills from her asthma treatments last month had wiped out his savings. "I'd need to bring my daughter. She's 8. There was a pause. "That's fine. I'll send a car. The driver will text when they arrive." 20 minutes later, Connor and a sleepy Lily were being driven through the rainy streets in a luxury SUV that probably cost more than Connor would make in 5 years. Lily was wide awake now, fascinated by the vehicle's built-in tablet and starry ceiling lights. "Are we going to a castle, Daddy?" she whispered. Connor smiled, adjusting her raincoat. "Not quite, but I bet it's pretty fancy." The Morrison building stood 30 stories tall in downtown Portland, a gleaming tower of glass and steel. The driver took them directly to a private underground parking area, then escorted them to an elevator that required a special key card. "Miss Morrison is waiting for you in the penthouse," the driver said as the elevator began its ascent. Connor squeezed Lily's hand, suddenly aware of his worn jeans and the patched elbow on his work jacket. "Best behavior, okay? This is a big job for us." When the elevator doors opened, they stepped directly into what had to be the most beautiful home Connor had ever seen. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the stormy Portland skyline, and modern art pieces that probably cost more than his house adorned the walls. But what caught his attention immediately was the water pouring from a section of ceiling near the back of the main living area, where a slender woman in tailored pajamas and a silk robe was frantically placing buckets. "Miss Morrison," Connor called, setting down his toolbox. She turned, and Connor felt his breath catch. Patricia Morrison was younger than he'd expected, maybe in her early 30s, with intelligent hazel eyes and dark hair pulled back in a messy bun. Despite the late hour and the emergency situation, she carried herself with unmistakable confidence. "Thank goodness," she said, hurrying over. "I've got water coming in from at least 3 places and my regular contractor won't answer his phone." Connor nodded, already assessing the damage. "I'll need to get up there right away. The storm's supposed to get worse before it gets better." Patricia's eyes fell on Lily, who was half hiding behind Connor's leg. Her expression softened. "And who might you be?" "I'm Lily," his daughter answered shyly. "Daddy fixes things." Patricia smiled, a genuine warmth transforming her face. "He does he? Well, I'm very glad he's here to fix my roof. Would you like some hot chocolate while he works? I was just about to make some." Lily looked up at Connor, who nodded his permission. "Go ahead, Lil. I need to get to work." As Patricia led Lily toward the kitchen, Connor began setting up his ladder under the worst of the leaks. The penthouse had a complex layout, with part of the roof forming a terrace that was currently being battered by wind and rain. He would need to go outside to properly address the problem. For the next hour, Connor battled the elements on the terrace, securing loose flashing and applying emergency sealant to a section where some tiles had come loose. The rain was relentless, soaking him despite his raincoat. By the time he came back inside to check his work from below, he was drenched and exhausted. He found Lily curled up on an enormous sectional sofa, fast asleep under a cashmere throw blanket. Patricia sat nearby with a laptop, but she closed it when she saw him. "Any luck?" she asked, rising to meet him. "I've patched the immediate problems," Connor said, careful not to drip water on her pristine floors. "But you'll need proper repairs when the storm passes. The flashing around your terrace door has corroded, and there's some structural issues with the roofing tiles." Patricia nodded, studying him with those perceptive hazel eyes. "You're soaked through. Let me get you a towel and some dry clothes. My brother leaves things here sometimes." Before Connor could protest, she disappeared down a hallway and returned with a fluffy towel and a set of men's clothes. "The bathroom is just there," she said, pointing. "I'll make you some coffee." 15 minutes later, Connor emerged in borrowed sweatpants and a t-shirt that felt softer than anything he'd ever worn. Patricia had set out a mug of coffee on the kitchen island, along with a plate of cookies. "I checked on the leaks," she said. "They seem to have stopped." "For now," Connor replied, gratefully accepting the coffee. "But as I said, you'll need proper repairs." Patricia nodded, leaning against the counter. "Your daughter is lovely. She told me all about her school and how you build her special bookshelves." Connor smiled, glancing over at Lily's sleeping form. "She's my world. It's just been the two of us since her mom left when she was 2. That can't be easy." "We manage," Connor said simply, not wanting to delve into their financial struggles or the constant juggling act that was single parenthood. Patricia studied him thoughtfully. "She also mentioned your ceiling is leaking too." Connor felt heat rise to his face. "Kids, right? Always sharing too much information." "Is it bad?" Patricia asked, and there was genuine concern in her voice. Connor shrugged. "Nothing I can't handle. Our landlord's property management is just slow to respond." Patricia sipped her coffee, then set the mug down decisively. "I have a proposition for you, Mr. Vega." "Connor, please." "Connor, then. And I'm Patricia." She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I recently purchased a property in the West Hills that needs significant renovation. The previous owner let it fall into disrepair. I was planning to hire a full team, but I'm impressed by your work ethic and skill. Would you be interested in overseeing the renovation? It would be a 3-month project, full-time, with accommodations included." Connor blinked, certain he had misheard. "Accommodations?" The property has a guest house that's in good condition. You and Lily could stay there during the renovation. It would solve your ceiling problem, at least temporarily, and the pay would be substantial. She named a figure that made Connor nearly choke on his coffee. That's extremely generous, he managed. I pay for quality work, Patricia said simply. And I need someone I can trust. You came out in the middle of the night in a storm with your daughter to help a stranger. That tells me a lot about your character. Connor hesitated, his mind racing. It was an incredible opportunity but also a risk. Leaving his current job for a temporary position, no matter how well-paying, could leave them vulnerable afterward. "I'd need to think about it," he said finally. "It's a big decision." Patricia nodded. "Of course. Take a few days." She slid a business card across the counter. "Call me when you decide." Just then, Lily stirred on the sofa, sitting up and rubbing her eyes. "Daddy, did you fix the leaky roof?" "I sure did, Pumpkin," Connor said, walking over to her. "It's still raining, but we should head home now." "I'll have my driver take you," Patricia said, already reaching for her phone. As they prepared to leave, Connor noticed Patricia crouching down to speak with Lily. "It was very nice to meet you, Lily," she said. "I hope I'll see you again soon." Lily, suddenly shy again, nodded. "Your house is pretty. It's like a castle in the sky." Patricia laughed, a warm, genuine sound that seemed to brighten the room despite the storm still raging outside. "That's a lovely way to describe it. Maybe next time you visit, it won't be in the middle of the night during a storm." On the ride home, Lily fell asleep against Connor's shoulder, but his mind was wide awake, turning over Patricia's offer. By the time they arrived back at their small house, where water was still dripping into buckets in Lily's room, he had made his decision. The next morning, after getting Lily off to school, Connor called his foreman to explain the situation. To his surprise, Walt was supportive. "Morrison's a big name around here," Walt said. "Do good work for her, and it could mean more high-end jobs for all of us. Your position will be here when you're done." Relieved, Connor dialed the number on Patricia's business card. "I'd like to accept your offer," he said when she answered. "Excellent," Patricia replied, and he could hear the smile in her voice. "Can you start Monday?" The weekend passed in a blur of packing and preparations. Connor explained to Lily that they would be staying in a special house while he did an important job, and she was thrilled at the adventure of it all, especially when he mentioned there might be a garden and more space to play. Monday morning arrived with clear skies, a welcome change after the storm. Connor loaded their essentials into his truck. They weren't taking much, just clothes, some of Lily's toys, and personal items. The guest house would be furnished, Patricia had assured him. The drive to the West Hills took them through increasingly affluent neighborhoods, until Connor turned onto a private drive that wound through tall trees before opening up to reveal a sprawling property. The main house was a classic Pacific Northwest design, all wood and glass, built to blend with its forested surroundings. But it clearly needed work peeling paint, a sagging section of roof, overgrown landscaping. The guest house, situated 100 yards from the main residence, was smaller but in better shape. It had its own driveway and garden area, providing a sense of privacy. As Connor parked, the front door of the main house opened, and Patricia emerged, dressed casually in jeans and a simple blouse, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked different from the polished businesswoman he'd seen in news articles, more approachable somehow. "You made it," she called, walking over to greet them. "Welcome to Cedar Ridge." Lily scrambled out of the truck, eyes wide as she took in their surroundings. "It's like a forest house," Patricia laughed. "It is indeed. There's even a tree house in the back, though it needs some repairs." Lily's eyes lit up. "A real tree house. Very real," Patricia confirmed. Perhaps your dad can fix it up when he has time. Connor grabbed their bags from the truck. Let's get settled in the guest house first, Lil. Actually, Patricia said, I thought I'd give you a tour of the main house first so you can see what needs to be done. The guest house is all ready for you. The next hour was spent walking through the impressive main residence, with Patricia pointing out areas that needed attention. The house had good bones, but years of neglect had taken their toll. Water damage, outdated systems, and general wear and tear would all need addressing. I want to preserve its character while modernizing where it makes sense, Patricia explained as they stood in the spacious living room with its wall of windows overlooking the forest. And make it more energy efficient. Connor nodded, already making mental notes. What's your timeline? 3 months would be ideal. I'm currently living in my downtown penthouse, but I'd like to move in here before winter. They continued the tour, with Lily trailing behind them, occasionally asking questions that made both adults smile. When they finally made their way to the guest house, Connor was pleasantly surprised. Though smaller than the main house, it was still more spacious than their rental with 2 bedrooms, a full kitchen, and a cozy living area. This is amazing, Lily exclaimed, running from room to room. Daddy, my bedroom has a window seat, Connor turned to Patricia. This is more than generous, she shrugged. It's part of the property. It should be used, not sitting empty. She handed him a folder. Here's all the information you'll need: security codes, where to find things, my contact details. I've also included details about local schools, since Lily will need to transfer temporarily. Connor frowned. I hadn't thought about that. There's a wonderful public school just 10 minutes from here, Patricia said quickly. I took the liberty of making some inquiries. They can accommodate temporary students, and their after-school program runs until 5:30. Connor was touched by her thoughtfulness. Thank you. That's a huge help. Patricia smiled. I'll leave you to get settled. I have meetings downtown all day, but I'll check in tomorrow to see how you're doing. After she left, Connor unpacked their belongings while Lily explored every corner of their temporary home. The kitchen was stocked with basics, and there was even a welcome basket with snacks and a stuffed animal for Lily. Daddy, can we stay here forever? Lily asked as they ate dinner on the small patio that evening. Connor chuckled. It's just for a few months while I work on the big house. Then we'll go back to our home. Lily considered this, munching on her sandwich. But our house has a leaky roof. Which will be fixed by then, Connor promised, though he wasn't entirely sure how he'd manage it. The money from this job would help immensely, but their rental had multiple issues that Mrs. Jenkins' property management company seemed in no hurry to address. The next morning, Connor dropped Lily at her new school, a process that went more smoothly than he'd feared. Thanks to Patricia's advanced preparations, then returned to begin work on the main house. He started by making a detailed assessment of all repairs needed, creating a prioritized list and budget. He was so engrossed in his work that he didn't hear Patricia arrive, until she spoke from the doorway of the study he was measuring. How's it going? She asked, setting down a takeout bag that smelled deliciously of Thai food. Connor straightened up, wiping his hands on his jeans. Good. I've been making a comprehensive list. There's quite a bit to do, but nothing impossible. Patricia nodded, pulling containers from the bag. I brought lunch. Thought you might be hungry. They sat at a dusty table in the kitchen, eating pad thai and discussing his findings. Connor was surprised by Patricia's knowledge of construction and renovation. She asked intelligent questions and had clearly done her research. How's Lily settling in? Patricia asked as they finished eating. She loves the guest house, and she was excited about her new school this morning, though I'm a bit nervous about the transition. Children are remarkably adaptable, Patricia said. More so than adults, usually. Connor studied her curiously. If you don't mind my asking, what made you buy this place? It's beautiful, but it needs a lot of work, and you already have the penthouse. Patricia's expression grew thoughtful. I grew up not far from here. My parents had a much smaller house, but in the same neighborhood. When I was 10, they would bring me walking in these woods. I always loved this house. It seemed magical to me then. She smiled softly. When I saw it was for sale, it felt like fate, a piece of my childhood I could reclaim in a way. There was something in her voice that hinted at deeper emotions, but Connor didn't press. Everyone had their stories, their private reasons for the choices they made. Well, I'll do my best to make it magical again, he said simply. Patricia's eyes met his, warm with gratitude. I believe you will. The days fell into a rhythm. Connor would drop Lily at school, work on the house all day, then pick her up and spend evenings with her at the guest house. Patricia was often at her downtown office, but she came by regularly to check progress and discuss decisions. By the end of the second week, Connor had addressed the most urgent repairs, fixing the roof, replacing damaged drywall, and addressing some electrical issues. He'd coordinated with specialty contractors for the plumbing overhaul and HVAC upgrades, but handled much of the work himself. One evening, as Connor was finishing up for the day, Patricia arrived with pizza. It had become something of a tradition. Every Friday she'd bring dinner and they'd discuss the week's progress. Lily isn't with you, she asked, looking around. She's having a playdate with a girl from her class, Connor explained, washing up at the kitchen sink. Her mom's dropping her off at 6. Patricia nodded, setting out plates on the newly installed kitchen island. How's she liking school? Loving it, Connor said, smiling. She's made friends already. Kids that age bounce back quickly. They ate companionably, discussing the next phase of renovations. Connor found himself increasingly comfortable in Patricia's presence. Despite her wealth and status, there was an unpretentious quality about her that he appreciated. I wanted to ask you, Patricia said as they finished eating, would it be all right if I took Lily to the Children's Science Museum tomorrow? I have tickets for a special exhibit, and I thought she might enjoy it. Connor was surprised by the offer. That's very kind, but I wouldn't want to impose on your weekend. It's not an imposition, Patricia assured him. I've been wanting to see the exhibit myself, and it's more fun with a child's perspective. Besides, it would give you some time to yourself. The idea of a few hours to catch up on errands or simply rest was tempting. If you're sure, I think she'd love it. When Lily arrived home and heard about the planned outing, her excitement was contagious. Miss Patricia knows about science, she asked, eyes wide. Connor chuckled. She built a technology company, so I'd say she knows quite a bit. The next morning, Patricia arrived at the guest house dressed casually in jeans and a light sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. Lily was ready and waiting, practically bouncing with excitement. We'll be back around 3, Patricia told Connor. Don't work too hard while we're gone. Connor watched them leave, Lily chattering happily as they walked to Patricia's car. It struck him that in the few weeks they'd been here, Patricia had shown more interest in Lily than her own mother had in years. Melissa had moved to Florida with her new husband shortly after leaving them, and her contact had dwindled to occasional texts and twice-yearly phone calls. He spent the morning running errands, then returned to the guest house to tackle some laundry. As he folded Lily's clothes, he noticed Patricia had sent a photo Lily grinning broadly in front of a display of moon rocks, giving a thumbs up. When they returned in the afternoon, Lily couldn't stop talking about all she'd seen. And Miss Patricia knows everything, Daddy. She explained about gravity and atoms and even let me do experiments, Patricia laughed. I think the museum staff explained most of it, but we did have fun with the hands-on exhibits. Would you like to stay for dinner? Connor found himself asking. I was going to grill some chicken. Nothing fancy, but there's plenty. Patricia looked momentarily surprised, then pleased. I'd like that, thank you. That evening, as they ate on the guest house patio, Connor noticed how naturally Patricia interacted with Lily, listening attentively to her stories and asking thoughtful questions. There was nothing condescending in her manner. She spoke to Lily as a person, not just a child. After Lily went to bed, Connor and Patricia sat outside with glasses of wine, enjoying the mild evening. Thank you for today, Connor said. Lily had an amazing time. Patricia smiled, looking up at the stars beginning to appear overhead. So did I. She's a remarkable child, so curious and perceptive. She's always been that way, Connor said proudly. Even as a toddler, she wanted to understand how everything worked. Like father, like daughter, Patricia observed. I've watched you work. You have the same focus, the same attention to detail. Connor felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the wine. Construction has always made sense to me. There's a logic to it, a process. And at the end of the day, you can see what you've accomplished. That's how I feel about coding, Patricia said. It's problem-solving, creation, building something from nothing. They fell into conversation about their work, their backgrounds. Connor learned that Patricia had started her company in her garage after college, building specialized security software that eventually caught the attention of major corporations. She'd grown the business methodically, resisting the pressure to sell until last year, when she'd finally agreed to an acquisition that left her wealthy beyond imagination. But it was never about the money, she said, swirling the wine in her glass. It was about building something meaningful. Why come back to Portland? Connor asked. Most people in your position would be off to New York or staying in Silicon Valley. Patricia was quiet for a moment. My parents died while I was building the company. Cancer, both of them, 2 years apart. I was so busy, I hardly took time to grieve properly. She looked at the shadowy outline of the main house through the trees. Coming back felt like a way to reconnect with them, with myself. Connor understood loss. His own parents had died in a car accident when he was 20, leaving him alone until he met Melissa a few years later. I'm sorry about your parents, he said simply. Thank you, she replied softly. Then, changing the subject, tell me about how you got into construction. They talked until well past midnight, discovering shared experiences despite their different backgrounds. Both had lost parents too young. Both valued independence and hard work. Both found peace in creation rather than consumption. When Patricia finally left, Connor felt an unfamiliar lightness. It had been a long time since he'd connected with someone this way, as equals despite their vastly different circumstances. As the renovation progressed, Patricia began spending more time at the property, often working from a makeshift office in the main house while Connor and his subcontractors worked around her. She joined them for lunch breaks and occasionally helped with small tasks, eager to be part of the transformation. One afternoon in their 5th week there, Connor was installing new windows in the main living room when a commotion outside caught his attention. He looked out to see Patricia and Lily in the garden, planting flowers along the newly cleared pathway. He watched them for a moment, Lily carefully digging small holes, Patricia showing her how to place each plant. They were laughing, dirt smudged on both their faces. The sight stirred something in him, a longing he'd pushed aside for years after Melissa left. Later that evening, after Lily was asleep, Connor sat on the patio reflecting on the growing warmth he felt whenever Patricia was around. It wasn't just gratitude for her kindness to Lily or appreciation for the opportunity she'd given him. There was something more, something that both excited and terrified him. He was still sitting there when his phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. "Still awake. Come to the main house. I want to show you something." Curious, Connor made his way through the dark garden to the main house. The front door was unlocked and soft light spilled from the living room. "Patricia," he called, stepping inside. "In here," she answered. He found her in the newly renovated living room, standing before the massive stone fireplace where a small fire burned. The furniture hadn't been delivered yet, but she'd set up a picnic blanket on the floor with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. "What's all this?" he asked, confused but intrigued. Patricia smiled, a touch of nervousness in her expression. "I wanted to celebrate. The renovation is halfway done, and it's already becoming exactly what I dreamed." She handed him a glass of wine, and their fingers brushed. The brief contact sent a current through him that he couldn't ignore. "Thank you for trusting me with this project," he said, taking a seat on the blanket. Patricia sat beside him, close enough that he could smell the light floral scent of her perfume. "It's more than that, Connor. You've made this place feel like a home already. You and Lily both." There was something in her voice, a vulnerability that caught him off guard. In that moment, the billionaire businesswoman was gone, replaced by simply Patricia, a woman with hopes and fears like anyone else. "Patricia," he began, not quite sure what he wanted to say. "I know this is complicated," she said quickly. "I'm your employer. There's a power imbalance that can't be ignored, but I want you to know that I've never felt more comfortable with anyone than I do with you and Lily." Connor set his wine glass down, gathering his courage. "I feel the same way. And yes, it's complicated, but not because you're my employer. It's complicated because I have Lily to consider, because I've been hurt before, because you and I come from different worlds." Patricia's eyes held his, unwavering. "Different worlds, maybe. But I think we understand each other pretty well." "We do," Connor admitted. "Better than I expected." Patricia moved closer, her hand finding his on the blanket. "I'm not asking for promises or declarations. I'm just acknowledging what's happening between us. Whatever it is, I don't want to ignore it." Connor looked down at their joined hands, then back to her face, illuminated by the flickering firelight. "I don't want to ignore it either." He leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. Instead, she met him halfway, her lips soft against his in a kiss that started gentle but quickly deepened with an intensity that took him by surprise. When they finally pulled apart, Connor felt dazed, his heart racing. "That was overdue," Patricia finished, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. They talked for hours, the fire burning low, discussing their feelings and fears. Patricia confessed that she'd been attracted to Connor from that first night during the storm, impressed by his dedication to both his work and his daughter. Connor admitted his initial intimidation at her wealth and status, and how quickly that had faded as he got to know the woman beneath the billionaire label. "So where do we go from here?" Connor asked as the night grew late. Patricia considered the question. Carefully, honestly. "I don't want to disrupt Lily's life or complicate the renovation, but I don't want to pretend I don't feel this way either." They agreed to take things slowly, to be discreet while the work continued, and to make Lily's well-being their priority. When Connor finally returned to the guest house well after midnight, he felt both exhilarated and terrified at the prospect of opening his heart again. The next few weeks brought a shift in their dynamic. During the day, they maintained professionalism, with Patricia continuing to make decisions about the renovation, and Connor executing them with his usual skill. But evenings often found them together, sometimes with Lily for movie nights or board games, sometimes alone after she was asleep, talking for hours or simply enjoying each other's company. One Saturday in their 7th week at Cedar Ridge, Patricia suggested they take Lily to a nearby lake for a picnic. The day was perfect, sunny but not too hot, with a gentle breeze rustling through the trees. They spread a blanket near the water's edge, and Patricia surprised them both with a basket full of gourmet treats. "These sandwiches are fancy," Lily observed, examining the layers of roasted vegetables and artisanal cheese. Patricia laughed. "Too fancy. I have peanut butter and jelly as backup." Lily took a brave bite. "No, it's good. Different but good." Connor watched their interaction, marveling at how easily Patricia had slipped into their lives. She never tried to replace Melissa in Lily's eyes, but she'd created her own unique relationship with his daughter, built on genuine interest and respect. After they ate, Lily wanted to explore the shoreline. Connor began to get up, but Patricia put a hand on his arm. "I'll go with her," she offered. "You relax for a bit." He watched them walk hand in hand along the lake, Lily pointing excitedly at ducks and water plants, Patricia bending to examine each discovery. The scene stirred a longing in him so profound, it was almost painful, a vision of what a complete family might feel like. That evening, after Lily was asleep, Connor and Patricia sat on the main house's newly finished deck, looking out at the stars. "I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop," Connor confessed, "for something to go wrong." Patricia looked at him questioningly. "Why? Because it feels too good to be true." He struggled to articulate his fears. "You could have anyone, Patricia. Someone from your world, someone without the complications I bring." Patricia took his hand, her expression serious. "I don't want anyone, Connor, and as for my world, it's lonely there. Do you know how many people see me as a walking bank account? How many relationships I've attempted where I could never be sure of the other person's motives?" She shifted to face him more fully. "With you, I've never doubted your sincerity, not once. You were kind to me before you knew who I was, and you've never treated me differently because of my money." Connor squeezed her hand. "Because your money is the least interesting thing about you." Patricia's smile was radiant in the moonlight. "That may be the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me." They fell silent, comfortable in each other's presence. Then Patricia spoke again, her voice thoughtful. "I've been meaning to ask you something. What are your plans after the renovation is complete? Will you go back to your old job?" The question caught Connor off guard. He hadn't allowed himself to think too far ahead, focusing instead on the present. "I suppose so. Walt said my position would be waiting for me." Patricia nodded, her expression carefully neutral. "And your house? With the leaky roof? Back to that, I guess, unless I can convince the property management to make the repairs." The prospect felt bleak after their time at Cedar Ridge. "What if?" Patricia began, then paused, seeming to choose her words carefully. "What if I could offer you another option?" Connor tensed slightly. "What kind of option?" "I own several properties around Portland," she explained. "Investment properties, mostly. There's a house in a good school district that's been completely renovated. It's sitting empty right now. I was planning to rent it out, but—" She hesitated. "But I'd rather offer it to you and Lily. At a fair rent, of course." "I wouldn't want you to feel it was charity." Connor was stunned. "Patricia, that's incredibly generous, but before you refuse," she interrupted gently, "please consider it from my perspective too. I'd have reliable tenants who I know would take excellent care of the property. And Lily would be in a better school district, with no more leaky roofs to worry about." The offer was tempting, almost too tempting. A good home for Lily, in a safe neighborhood with good schools. But accepting felt like crossing a line, becoming indebted to Patricia in a way that might unbalance their relationship. "Can I think about it?" he asked finally. Patricia nodded. "Of course. No pressure, I promise." As they approached the final weeks of the renovation, the main house was transformed. Fresh paint brightened every room. New hardwood floors gleamed in the sunlight streaming through spotless windows, and the kitchen was a masterpiece of modern design while still honoring the home's original character. One evening, as Connor was finishing up some trim work in the master bedroom, his phone rang. It was Lily's teacher. "Mr. Vega, I'm calling because Lily fell during recess and complained of trouble breathing. We've called an ambulance as a precaution, given her asthma history." Connor's blood ran cold. Which hospital are they taking her to? After getting the details, he rushed to find Patricia, who was working in her makeshift office. One look at his face and she was on her feet. "What's wrong?" "Lily's being taken to the hospital, an asthma attack after a fall." "I need to go. I'll drive you," Patricia said immediately, grabbing her keys. "You're too upset to be behind the wheel." The drive to the hospital was a blur. Patricia remained calm, navigating traffic efficiently while Connor called ahead to make sure the hospital had Lily's medical records. When they arrived, Patricia pulled up directly to the emergency entrance. "Go," she said. "I'll park and join you." Connor raced inside, identifying himself at the desk. A nurse led him back to a treatment room where Lily lay on a bed, an oxygen mask over her face. She looked small and pale, but her eyes lit up when she saw him. "Daddy," she said, her voice muffled by the mask. "I'm here, sweetheart," he said, taking her hand. "You're going to be fine." The doctor explained that Lily had experienced a significant asthma attack, triggered by the fall and possibly exacerbated by seasonal allergies. They were giving her medication to open her airways and would need to monitor her for a few hours. Patricia arrived shortly after, carrying a stuffed animal she'd purchased from the gift shop. "How is she?" she asked Connor quietly. "Better," he said, relief evident in his voice. "They want to keep her for observation, but the doctor says she's responding well to treatment." Patricia approached Lily's bed, setting the stuffed bear beside her. "Hello, brave girl, you gave us quite a scare." Lily managed a small smile behind her oxygen mask. "Sorry." "Nothing to be sorry for," Patricia assured her, smoothing Lily's hair. "That's what hospitals are for, to help when we need it." Over the next few hours, Patricia remained by their side, stepping out only to bring coffee for Connor and to make some calls, rearranging her schedule for the following day. When the doctor finally said Lily could go home with careful monitoring and medication, it was nearly midnight. In the car, Lily fell asleep almost immediately, exhausted from the ordeal. Connor reached across the center console to squeeze Patricia's hand. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "for everything today." Patricia glanced at him briefly before returning her eyes to the road. "You don't need to thank me, Connor. I care about Lily. I care about you both." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. When they arrived back at Cedar Ridge, Connor carried a sleeping Lily into the guest house and tucked her into bed. Patricia followed with Lily's discharge papers and medication. "I'll stay tonight," she said quietly as they stepped out of Lily's room, "in case she needs anything during the night." Connor really looked at her and felt something break open in his chest. This woman who could buy anything she wanted had given him the only things that mattered: kindness, support, respect. And she'd given them freely, without expectation. "Patricia," he began, his voice rough with emotion. She met his gaze steadily. "Yes, I love you," he said simply. The words had been building for weeks, perhaps from that first night in the storm, but he hadn't allowed himself to acknowledge them fully until now. "I love how you are with Lily. I love your mind and your heart. I love that you see me, really see me." Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too," she whispered. "I think I have almost from the start." That night, As Lily slept peacefully, they sat close on the guest house sofa, talking in hushed voices about their feelings, their fears, and their hopes. There were complications to navigate: Connor's pride and independence, Patricia's public profile, Lily's well-being, but the foundation of their feelings was solid. In the morning, Lily was much improved, though still tired. Patricia made pancakes while Connor called the school to explain Lily's absence. "Miss Patricia, are you going to be my new mom?" Lily asked suddenly, making both adults freeze. Connor recovered first. "Lily, that's not we're not. Patricia and I care about each other very much," he said carefully. "But these things take time." Patricia sat down next to Lily. "Your dad is right, and I would never try to replace your mom, but I do care about you both very much." Lily considered this, then nodded. "That's good, because I like having you around." The simple acceptance in her words brought tears to Patricia's eyes. "I like being around," she managed to say. The final weeks of the renovation flew by. The main house was nearly complete, with only finishing touches remaining. Connor had coordinated with landscapers to restore the gardens, and the once neglected property now looked spectacular, worthy of its beautiful setting. As the project neared completion, Connor found himself increasingly anxious about what would come next. He still hadn't given Patricia an answer about the rental house, partly because he wasn't sure it was the right solution. He wanted to stand on his own 2 feet, to provide for Lily through his own efforts, but he also wanted to give her the best possible life. One evening, as they walked the property reviewing the final details, Patricia seemed unusually quiet. "Everything okay?" Connor asked, taking her hand. She nodded, but her expression remained thoughtful. "Just thinking about how much has changed since that stormy night when you came to fix my roof." "Good changes, I hope." Patricia smiled up at him. "The very best kind." They reached the newly restored tree house, which Connor had carefully rebuilt for Lily. It stood proudly in a massive oak tree with a sturdy ladder and railing for safety. "She loves it here," Connor said, looking up at the little structure. "She's going to miss it when we leave." Patricia took a deep breath. "About that, I've been thinking." Connor turned to face her. "Yes. What if you didn't have to leave?" she asked, her voice soft but clear. "What if this could be your home too, both of you?" Connor stared at her, not quite comprehending. "What are you saying exactly?" Patricia took both his hands in hers. "I'm saying I love you, Connor Vega. I love your daughter. These past 3 months have shown me what I want my life to be, and it's this: a home filled with love with both of you in it." Connor felt his heart racing. "Patricia, I can't just move in and let you support us. I need to work to provide for Lily." "And you will," she interrupted. "I'm not suggesting you stop working. In fact, I've had several inquiries from friends who have seen the renovation and want to hire you for their own projects. You could start your own business, be your own boss." The idea was both exhilarating and terrifying. "That's a big step." "So is what I'm proposing," Patricia acknowledged. "I know it's fast. I know there are 1,000 practical details to work out. But I also know what I feel, and I think you feel it too. This place, it doesn't feel like home without you and Lily in it." Connor looked around at the beautiful property they'd restored together. He thought of Lily's joy in the gardens, the tree house, the spacious rooms filled with light. He thought of the easy rhythm they'd fallen into, the three of them like a family. "What about Lily?" he asked. "She needs stability." "She has that with you," Patricia said firmly. "And I believe she could have it with me too if you'll give us the chance. I'm not asking to replace her mother, but I would like the opportunity to be another person who loves her, who's there for her." Connor's mind raced with practical concerns. "People will talk. They'll say I'm after your money." Patricia shrugged. "Let them. We know the truth. And anyone who matters will see it too, once they spend time with us." The certainty in her voice, the clear-eyed way she approached even this most emotional of proposals, was so quintessentially Patricia. She saw obstacles not as roadblocks, but as problems to be solved with patience and intelligence. "I need a little time," Connor said finally. "Not because I don't love you, but because this affects Lily too. I need to be sure it's the right move for her." Patricia nodded, understanding in her eyes. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." The next day, Connor took Lily to her favorite park after school. As she played on the swings, he sat watching her, turning over Patricia's proposal in his mind. "Higher, Daddy." Lily called, pumping her legs. Connor obliged, giving her a gentle push. "Hey, Lil, can I ask you something important?" She nodded, still swinging. "Is it about Miss Patricia?" Connor blinked in surprise. "How did you know?" Lily gave him a look that suggested she found adults rather slow sometimes. "Because you look at her the way princes look at princesses in my books, and she looks at you that way too." Out of the mouths of babes, Connor thought. "You're pretty observant, kiddo. Yes, it's about Patricia." "How would you feel if we spent more time with her? Maybe a lot more time." Lily considered this as she swung back and forth. "You mean like living in her house? The big one?" "Maybe," Connor hedged. "Would that be okay with you?" Lily dragged her feet to slow the swing, then looked at him seriously. "Is she going to be your girlfriend?" "I think she already is, in a way," Connor admitted. "And maybe someday, if everything goes well, she might be more than that, but that's a long way off." Lily nodded, processing this information. "I like her. She doesn't talk to me like I'm a baby, and she makes you smile a lot." Connor felt a lump in his throat. "She makes me very happy, but you make me happiest of all, and I won't do anything that doesn't feel right to you." Lily hopped off the swing and came to stand in front of him. "I think we should live in the big house with Miss Patricia, and I think you should marry her someday because she loves us, and we love her." The simple clarity of her reasoning left Connor speechless. He pulled her into a hug, marveling at how sometimes the most complex adult decisions could be so straightforward through a child's eyes. That evening, after Lily was asleep, Connor walked up to the main house. Patricia was working in her office but came to the door when he knocked. "Connor," she said, surprise and pleasure in her voice. "I wasn't expecting you tonight." "I talked to Lily today," he said without preamble, "about us, about possibly living here." Patricia's eyes widened. And she thinks I should marry you someday because we love each other and you make me smile," he said, a grin spreading across his face. Patricia's hand flew to her mouth. "She said that," Connor nodded, stepping closer. "Kids have a way of cutting through the complications adults create." "And she's right. I do love you. I've been overthinking this, worrying about what other people might say, about whether I'm good enough for you." "Good enough," Patricia interrupted, indignant. "Connor, if anything, I've worried whether I'm good enough for you and Lily. Whether I know how to be part of a family, having been on my own for so long." Connor took her hands in his. "I think we're both good enough. I think we might be perfect for each other, actually." Patricia's eyes shone with tears. "So what are you saying exactly?" "I'm saying yes," Connor said simply. "Yes to making a home here with you. Yes to building a life together, the three of us. Yes to seeing where this leads without fear holding us back." Patricia threw her arms around him and he lifted her off her feet, both of them laughing through tears. When he set her down, she looked up at him with such joy that it took his breath away. "We'll take it slow with Lily," she said. "Make sure she's comfortable every step of the way." Connor nodded, amazed at how her first thought was for his daughter's well-being. "She already loves you, you know." "But yes, we'll be careful." They sealed their agreement with a kiss that held the promise of their future, a future neither of them could have imagined that stormy night 3 months ago when a leaky roof brought them together. Over the next year, they settled into their new life together. Connor started his own renovation company. quickly building a reputation for quality work with high-end clients, many of whom came through Patricia's connections, but increasingly through word of mouth as his portfolio grew. Patricia continued to run her investments and sit on the boards of several companies, but she structured her work to allow more time at home. She took genuine delight in attending Lily's school events and helping with her science projects, becoming not a replacement for her absent mother, but a loving, consistent presence in her own right. They were deliberate in how they presented their relationship to the world, neither hiding it nor making a spectacle of it. There were raised eyebrows at first, whispers about the billionaire and the contractor, but those who knew them saw the genuine love and respect between them. On the one-year anniversary of that stormy night, Connor proposed in the same spot where they'd first kissed in front of the fireplace in what was now their home. Patricia said yes without hesitation, and Lily, who had been in on the plan, raced in to hug them both, a family already in all the ways that mattered most. Their wedding was held in the garden at Cedar Ridge the following spring, with Lily as the flower girl. It was a small ceremony, attended by friends who had supported their relationship and colleagues who had become friends. Patricia's tech industry connections mingled easily with Connor's construction crew, united in their genuine happiness for the couple. As they exchanged vows, Connor thought about the journey that had brought them here, from a midnight repair call during a storm to building a life together. It hadn't always been easy. They'd navigated differences in their backgrounds, in how they viewed money, in their approaches to parenting Lily. But they'd done it with honesty and patience, growing stronger with each challenge overcome. "I never expected you," Patricia said in her vows, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "I came back to Portland looking for a connection to my past, but instead, I found my future with you and with Lily. You taught me that true wealth isn't in bank accounts or buildings, it's in having people to love who love you in return." Connor, never one for public speaking, had worried about his own vows, but when the moment came, the words flowed easily. 3 years ago, I was a man just trying to keep a roof over my daughter's head, literally. Now I stand here with a partner I never dreamed I'd find, building not just houses but a home. You see me as I am, and you love me anyway. You love my daughter as your own. There is no greater gift." As they celebrated with their guests afterward, Connor pulled Patricia aside for a quiet moment. "Happy?" he asked, already knowing the answer from the glow in her eyes. "Happier than I ever thought possible," she replied, leaning into him. "And you?" Connor looked around at their home, at Lily dancing with her friends on the lawn, at the life they'd built together. "I keep thinking about that night when my ceiling was leaking and I got a call to fix a roof across town. How close I came to saying no because it was late and I was tired." Patricia smiled up at him. "I'm very glad you said yes." "So am I," he replied, kissing her softly. "So am I." And as the celebration continued around them, Connor reflected on the strange, wonderful path that had led them here, from a leaky roof at midnight to a love that had given them both so much more than just a home. It had given them a family, built not on obligation or circumstance, but on choice, on seeing each other clearly and choosing each other anyway, every single day.